Safiya, your science teacher. Today we are going to continue the topic or the lesson, that is our Earth's natural satellite. Discussed about our natural satellite. What is a natural satellite? Moon. Moon is a natural satellite. Moon will revolve around the sun. Any heavenly body which revolves around the other heavenly body is called as satellite. So moon will be revolving around the earth. So moon is a natural satellite of earth. And we have learned also the landing on the moon. If the three people who landed on the moon are, first person to land on the moon is Neil Armstrong, then Edred Buzz, and the third person had not stepped on the moon because he was in the spacecraft to maintain the contact between the earth and the moon. He did not get down from his space shuttle Apollo 11. In the same way, now we have also seen that how the surface of the moon is. Surface of the moon is not even. It has many mountains, plains, and as well as it has many rocks and craters. The soil or the dust which is grey in color. The moon has very less gravity. It is only 1/6 of the Earth's gravity. So that's why the object which is present on the Earth, too heavy object, will look very light on the moon. And the people who are here, they are able to walk. That is because of the gravity, because of the gravitational force. But whereas on the moon, as it is very less gravity, we can float in the air. So we have discussed many things about the moon in the last session. In this session, we are going to learn about the phases of the moon. Phases of the moon. Based on the phases of the moon, we have to complete. It will take to complete these phases of moon, it will take 28 days. And here the phases of the moon are nothing but the lighted part which will be visible from the earth. This is the earth, right? So here is the moon. As the moon is revolving around it, what happens? Some part of the moon will be visible and some will be invisible from this part of the earth. For example, if we are here, so some part of it is visible. And from here, when it goes here, it will be invisible. But when it comes here again, some part of it will be visible. So the phase of the moon depends on the part of the moon visible from the earth. That is what phase of the moon or the shape of the moon. We know that different shapes of the moons are there. The different shapes are visible. That is because the light is falling on that place and we are able to see that that side of the moon. In the same way, here we are going to learn about two eclipses. We know that, as you know, this earth is revolving around the sun and moon is revolving around the earth. So what happens when these three are present? These two rotation revolution is taking place of earth and this moon is revolving. So at one time, what happens here at once? These three heavenly bodies will come in the straight line. These three heavenly bodies will come in straight line. You know that the earth has the tilted axis. It is little bit tilted. It is little bit tilted. So every time this will not take place once in years, what happens? These three will come in straight line. As these three will come in straight line, that is called as eclipse. When these three heavenly bodies will come in the straight line, it is called as eclipse. So these eclipses are of two types. Lunar eclipse and solar eclipse. Two types of eclipse are lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. So let me show how this eclipse will take place. As I said, three heavenly bodies will come in between. Okay, come in straight line. Then this eclipse will take place. So when the earth is in between the moon and the sun, lunar eclipse takes place. When the earth is in between the sun and the moon, lunar eclipse will take place. As the moon is revolving here, what happens? Moon will come at the position where the sunlight will not form here. The darkest shadow of the earth will be falling on the moon. the darkest shadow of the earth will be falling on the moon, and as a result moon will become invisible. So this type of eclipse is called as lunar eclipse, and lunar eclipse is of different types. When the complete moon is invisible, when the complete dark shadow of the earth is falling on the moon, then moon will be invisible, completely invisible. That is called as complete lunar eclipse. And sometimes the part of the moon will be visible. For example, here the darkest part of the earth is falling here. Shadow of the earth is falling here. This is the partial lunar eclipse. That means half of the moon we can see and half of the moon is invisible. So this is how this is partial lunar eclipse. In the same way, what is solar eclipse? In solar eclipse, we observe that moon will be coming in between the earth and the sun. Moon will come in between the earth and the sun. The shadow of the moon will be falling on the sun. How the earth's shadow is falling on the moon, in the same way the shadow of the moon will be falling on the sun. And as a result, what happens? The sun will be invisible for some time. So that is called as solar eclipse. When the complete shadow of the moon is falling on the sun, the complete sun will be invisible. When the complete shadow of the moon is falling on the sun, then the complete sun will be invisible. That is called as complete solar eclipse. Sometimes what happens, only part of the moon will be falling on the sun and only that part of the sun will be invisible and the other part will be visible. That is called as partial solar eclipse. So, eclipse, when three heavenly bodies will come in straight line, then eclipse will take place. When the earth is in between the sun and the moon, lunar eclipse will take place. When the moon is in between the sun and the earth, solar eclipse will take place. They should not see the solar eclipse directly with your naked eyes. It is very dangerous. And when this earth will be moving, when these three, as I said, when eclipse will take place, these three will be in the straight line. As the earth moves from between the moon and the sun, the eclipse will complete. Here also, as soon as the moon moves away from the straight line, the eclipse will be completed. So, this was about the eclipse. Next one, how we know that the gravity of the moon is only 1/6 of the earth. Even though it has very less gravity, but it can may affect a lot on the seas and oceans. So what happens when the moon is revolving? The space, the size, the part of the moon which is near to the earth, okay, the surface of the moon which is near to the earth makes some effects on the water of seas and oceans. It causes tides. Phases of the moon also causes tides. The size or the surface of the moon which is near to the sea or ocean, there you can see high tides. Tides will be seen, those are very high. The height of the tides will be nearly around 25 centimeters it can be. That is because here, how these tides will be forming? That is because it has gravity. The moon will attract the water which is present in the seas and oceans. It will try to pull it towards itself. And as a result, we can find the upward tides. And at one side, for example, here is the earth and here is the moon. So this side, the water which is present, here the tides are created. But the opposite side also, same high tide can be seen because of rotation. As the earth is rotating, both the sides we can see the high tides. And these parts will be having the low tide. These tides are caused because of the phases of the moon. Why phases of the moon? Because it has 1/6 gravitational force of the earth. And this the height of the tide depends on the phases of the moon. If they are on which days, for example, new moon day and full moon day are the 2 days when there are the high tides. They can be of more greater height. The tides can be of greater height on the new moon day and the full moon day. So this was about the moon. So this is the moon is a natural satellite. But do you think we are depending only on the natural satellite? No, we are using many artificial satellites. Artificial satellites are the man-made satellites. Artificial satellites are the man-made satellites. They are made in the space stations, right? They are made in the space research centers to know about the universe, to know about our galaxy, to know about our different planets present in our solar system, and to get all the information about the universe and the space. So, human-made satellites are called as artificial satellites. The first satellite which was launched was Sputnik 1. Sputnik 1 was the first satellite launched by Russia. At that time it was called as USSR. First satellite Sputnik 1 was launched by Russia, and they sent this satellite to know about the surface of the moon and the earth, how the earth locates from the space, and as well as nowadays we are using many these satellites to know different things. First of all, to get the television shows which are going on in the other country, but also we are able to see that is because of the communication satellites. There are different types of satellites present there. So communication satellites are for connecting one country with the other one. Like television programs, we can see we are using online services, like even though we are sitting here, but we are ordering some things from the abroad, okay, by using online shopping, okay, that platform, and as well as we are able to talk with the other person who is sitting in the other continent. Right, so that is also because of the communication satellites. In the same way, there are some weather satellites which will say about the weather, like how glaciers are moving, how the clouds are forming, what is the movement of clouds, where the earthquake, where the rainfall can be, how everything regarding the weather will be, information will be given by the weather satellite. Okay, space age started in the year 1957 when the first satellite Sputnik 1 was sent to orbit around the earth by Russians, and the first person to go into the space is Yuri Gagarin. Major Yuri Gagarin of Russia was the first man to go into the space, and the woman was Valentina Tereshkova of Russia. She was the first woman to go into the space. That is on the 12th April 1961. Valentina and Gagarin went into the space. First people went into the space are those two. They are from Russia. And on the 3rd April 1984, squadron leader Rakesh Sharma was the first India's first person to go into space. What is his name? Squadron leader Rakesh Sharma. He went into the space on 3rd April 1984, and in the year 1975 the first artificial satellite of India was launched, that is Aryabhatta. Aryabhatta was the first man-made, that means artificial satellite, was launched by India. There are many other satellites which were launched like Kalpana 1, EduSat, Insta 1, Insta 2B, etc. Find out about the different artificial satellites sent by India. And this, as I said, artificial satellites have many uses. Not only that, artificial satellites are also used to know the particular region or the area. For example, to know about the forestry, to know about the groundwater levels, etc. These satellites are also useful. So we have many uses of these satellites, and we are utilizing all the things, smartphones, laptops, PCs, everything based on the satellites only. Today's your worksheet is, you have to write who was the first Indian woman to go into space. You know the first man who went into space, then you have to write the first woman, Indian woman to go into the space. Second one, write the names of satellites sent by India. Artificial satellites which we have sent, that you have to collect the data and write here. Then write 4 uses of artificial satellites. What are the uses of artificial satellites that you have to write? Any 4 uses you have to write in your notebook. So this was the end of your lesson, our Earth's natural satellite, and we have learned some more about artificial satellites as well. I hope everyone is listening with concentration and completing your worksheets. So listen carefully, students, and follow the instructions given by us. Thank you. Bye-bye.